Hello board game brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode where I'll be letting you know of Kickstarters launching this week. I do these videos each week and I go over the next 7 days. If you want to know beyond that, I also manage a Reddit post, so check that out if you want to know more. I'll leave a link in the description below. With that said, let's check out the Kickstarters. And the first game I have for you launches on July 7th, and it's called Shadow Kingdoms of Valeria. And this plays 1 to 5 players and takes 30 to 75 minutes to play. For years, the humans, elves, and dwarves have been encroaching on your land and slaying your kind. Now is the time to rally your troops and lay waste to their kind and bring forth the reign of the Shadow Kingdoms. In this game, you're going to be playing as the monsters who had their land conquered by heroes, and you're fighting to take it back. This game was designed by Stan Kordonski, who also created Dice Hospital. In this game, each player is a warden competing for control of the army of the Shadow Kingdoms. You're going to be visiting shrines and recruiting different troops that are represented by colored dice in order to fuel your war machine and take over the lands. The different colored dice represent different monsters. You have the goblin, the orc, the skeleton, the gnoll, and the best of them all, the gargoyle.
This is a gargoyle.
The player with the most victory points wins the game. And the next game I have for you is also on July 7th, and it's called Castaway Chronicles. And this plays 1 to 4 players and takes 80 to 180 minutes to play. This game is published by Mindclash Games, and you might recognize some of the designers from games like Anachrony, Trickerion, and Cerebria. Caught in the storm, you and many others become marooned on a deserted island. You soon discover that this island is inhabited by fiercely territorial dinosaurs. With no way home, you're forced to strike your foothold and build your civilization here to stand your ground. This is a Euro-style dice drafting and dice placement strategy game, and this campaign is going to just introduce the first 2 episodes of a 4-episode campaign. The campaign is going to tell a story of a group of survivors that are fighting to build a civilization in a hostile land. The outcome of each episode is going to affect the next one, but this isn't a legacy game, so you don't have to worry about modifying your board or tearing up your cards. Episode 1 is going to have you striking your foothold and establishing your settlement, and episode 2 is going to have you expanding your settlement as you grow your civilization into a thriving community. Each episode is going to add some new mechanisms that are going to expand on the rules and the actions and abilities available. This might sound like a co-op, but it's not. Sort of. You're going to be working together to not get eaten by dinos, but aside from that, you're trying to build a following in this community, so each player is going to be competing to have the most followers, and whoever has the most at the end of the game wins the game. And I just want to take a moment here for a quick shout out to Mindclash Games, because they've done an incredible job of running this, and the campaign hasn't even started yet. They've been super transparent so far, and if you check out the forums on BGG, you'll find a whole bunch of threads where Mindclash Games has been very active, responding to the community and answering a lot of the questions that people might have. And this is a giant game, so a lot of you are probably wondering how you're going to store all this, and they actually did post a little teaser of the big box in those threads. This is exactly how I want to see publishers interacting with the community, and I never understood why Kickstarters always have so much secrecy around them up to their launch. Being involved in the community, getting feedback, and showing playthroughs of your game shows me that you are proud of what you're doing and that you have a lot of confidence in the content that you're creating. It really baffles me that a lot of Kickstarters out there don't post their rules, they don't post any playthroughs, or even offer a tabletop simulator link or some way for you to play the game for yourself. I love it when publishers take out the guesswork when you go to back a game and give you the information so that you can decide if this is a game for you, and I think that's exactly what Mindclash Games is doing, and I hope other publishers are inspired by this. So there's several games this week that are really hitting my bar for pick of the week, and this is definitely one of them, but I do want to keep this just to one game, so instead of pick of the week, I'm going to be giving this one my super awesome shelf clutter star of approval. Just consider that the same honor as my pick of the week. And while I'm doing shoutouts, I also want to mention the YouTube channel Heavy Cardboard, because they did a phenomenal job of playing this game, and you can check out their whole run through on their channel. I'll leave a link to it up here in the corner now if you want to see it. It's a lot of fun to watch. I enjoyed watching it, and the game looks like a lot of fun. Also on July 7th, we have Venturea Battle System, The Fall of the King. And this is the first chapter of the Venturea Battle System, and this is a tactical war game system that is designed for 2 players. So for all you war gamers hoping to bring new players into the hobby, this system is actually supposed to be very accessible and friendly to new players. This game implements that system and applies it to the Battle of 𝗚𝗺 of 1249. So I'm halfway through this and I forgot to plug in my microphone. So hopefully the audio on the camera was pretty good, because I'm not doing that again. And the next game I have for you is called Ascension Tactics, the miniatures deck building game. And this plays 1 to 4 players and is also being released on the 7th. I haven't played the other Ascension games, but this one's supposed to be a lot different than those, as it brings that classic deck building mechanism and combines it with the strategy that you'll find in tactical miniature games. If you are familiar with Ascension, you're going to see a lot of those characters that you know and love in miniature form. This features a campaign mode, but also has scenarios for PvP, solo, and co-op mode. If you're not a fan of dice rolling, this might be a game for you because there's no dice required. And the next game I have for you also launches on the 7th, and it's called Relics of Rajavihara. And this is a solo game that takes about 20 minutes to play. And in this game, you've discovered a temple filled with treasure. But you're not the first one to make it here, because your arch nemesis has already shown his face, and he's trying to take all that treasure for himself with thoughts of power and world domination. It's up to you to stop him, and you can probably grab a little bit of that treasure for yourself as well. This game features a 50-level campaign where you'll be sliding and shifting blocks, climbing and descending, and trying to thwart your evildoers' plans. Each level looks like it comes in its own hidden box, and it's going to have its own challenge that you're going to have to complete to move on to the next one. Move through all of these and get to the end where you'll be facing off against your nemesis himself. When you've completed the campaign, you'll be unlocking a whole new mode that allows you to have an infinite number of solo play adventures that you'll be able to take part in creating. I mentioned before that there's a few games this week that have actually hit my bar for a pick of the week, and this is definitely one of them. I love solving little puzzles like this, and I think the addition of the campaign and the little bit of story that goes along with it really polishes the game and is going to make it a lot more fun to play. I know the different level boxes can come off as a little bit gimmicky, but to me they add a lot of excitement and mystery to the game, and I like how each level is just packaged in its own little box ready to go. Not only that, but both this board game's designer and artist are both people that I've seen active in the board game community. Tristan Rosen makes some amazing artwork, and if you check out his portfolio on BGG, you'll be amazed with the art that he does. And the designer Joe Slack has a huge history in game design. He actually used to teach game design and development at university, and now he even runs his own online course. You can even check out a few books he's written about game design that have been really highly acclaimed. I think the portfolios that they have and the work that they're doing speaks for itself, but it's always nice to know the people behind the game and the work that they've put into it. And if you guys are watching, I love your work, so keep it up and keep making great games for me to play. There's also a great little review on BGG that's worth a read. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. And the next game I have for you is also launching on the 7th, and it's called The Original Sherlock Holmes and His Baker Street Irregulars. And this plays 1 to 4 players and takes about 30 to 45 minutes to play. And in this game, players are taking on the roles of investigators who are trying to clean the streets of London. You're going to be using card drafting and set collection to gain points, and you're going to be spending tokens that represent your Baker Street Irregulars, who are going to be helping you get evidence cards, which you're going to use to arrest villains and gain victory points. This game is played over 4 rounds, and you're going to be getting bonuses each round depending on how efficiently you spent your tokens. At the end of the game, the player with the most victory points is London's second best detective. And this also is going to offer a solo mode where you can face off against the #1 detective himself, Sherlock Holmes. And the last game I have for you for July 7th is called the Surrealist Dinner Party. And this plays 2 to 4 players and takes about 35 to 50 minutes to play. And in this game, each player is going to be showing off their hosting skills as they're all hosting a dinner party, and they're going to be managing drama between different guests, serving the food they like, and sending them home at the right time. On each player's turn, they're going to be bringing new guests to the party, serving different food, or having guests socialize with their neighbors at the table. Each guest is going to have their own little habit or characteristic, so you're going to want to keep that in mind when you decide who's sitting beside who and who's going to get along the best. You're going to want your guests to have the best time as possible, but if they're the guests of your opponent, it's not so bad to create a little bit of drama. And now we're getting into games for July 8th, and the next game I have for you is called 𝗚𝗺𝗲 𝗟𝗶ₛ and this is an educational card game where players are going to be matching clue cards with the associated historical figure of the world's greatest scientists, artists, and leaders. Matching the cards correctly grants you a point, and at the end of each round, whoever has the most points gets a Seal of Excellence. Whoever gets 2 Seal of Excellences first wins the game. This game is intended to have very simple rules so that children can play and learn about history's greatest minds. And the next one I have for you is called Dead Reckoning, the swashbuckling strategy game from AEG. And this plays 1 to 4 players and takes about 90 to 150 minutes to play. And this is my pick of the week. And there's a lot to love about this game. I'll start with the fact that the designer, John Clare, also created great games like Space Base, Edge of Darkness, and Mystic Vale. Secondly, the artist for this game is Ian O'Toole, who also did the art for games like On Mars, Lisboa, and Kanban EV. And Dead Reckoning is a game that marriages 4X with card crafting. If you're unfamiliar with what 4X is, it just represents 4 different characteristics that you're going to find in this game. Those characteristics are exploring, expanding, exploiting, and exterminating. I think a better way to think about 4X is that throughout the game you're going to be building up an empire. If anyone else wants to add more details to this, feel free to leave some info in the description below. And I guess while I'm on this topic, if you're unfamiliar with what card crafting is, it means that you're going to be getting different cards throughout the game that have different attributes, and you're going to be able to modify what those attributes are. In this game, that's done by different sleeves, where those sleeves are going to have different upgrades and boosts that are going to modify the effects of that card. And Dead Reckoning is a game of exploration, piracy, and influence based in a Caribbean-esque setting. Each player commands a ship, a crew, and seeks to amass the greatest fortune. Each player is going to have their own ship that's going to be represented both by a token on the board and its own dedicated board that you'll be able to upgrade and expand upon to improve your ship throughout the game. Each player is also going to be recruiting different crew to their ship, and they're going to be able to level up their crew naturally, but this is also where the card crafting comes in, because you're going to be able to use the different sleeves to augment the powers of your crew. With your ship and your crew, you're going to be sailing out to sea and exploring and discovering deserted islands that have all sorts of treasure and goodies that you're going to want, but also your opponents are going to want. And it's often that there's just not time for diplomacy, so expect to get in a lot of battles. And the battles look like a really fun part of the game because you'll be using a cube tower that not only looks really cool, but adds a really unique spin on the battle system. So this cube tower represents you firing your cannons, and you're going to be using this anytime you want to shoot at any player-controlled ships or non-player controlled ships. Depending on where your cubes land and the way you've upgraded your ship and your crew, it's going to affect the outcome of these results, increasing your chance of victory. There's already a couple expansions announced for this game, and they look like expansions that I would really like to get because they add just more content to the game. This game uses a saga system that is only going to introduce a little bit of this content at a time, and the content that does get introduced is going to depend on the decisions and the way that the game unfolds. So this is not going to add a whole lot of extra complexity to each game, but it's going to add a lot of variation and different things for you to uncover each time you play. And that's a great concept for expansions. I was originally not that interested in this game because of the way it uses card sleeves as part of the gameplay. I sleeve most of my games, and it's not uncommon that a sleeve gets ripped here and there. And I really don't like having games that are likely to get damaged. But the more I looked into this game, the more and more I discovered how much there is to like about it. The little bit of engine building between your crew and your ship looks like something that adds a lot of fun without a whole lot of complexity. And the entire game looks like it has a lot to offer without being super overwhelming. The cube tower is cool, but it really wasn't a factor for me making this my pick of the week, but I do think it adds a little bit more excitement to the game, so I'm happy it's there. With all these things in mind, I can overlook my phobia for printed card sleeves, but I also want to say that my concern might not even be valid, because taking a look at some of the pictures here on BGG, it looks like these might even be rigid card sleeves that are completely different than the premium card sleeves you might buy at your game store. Check out their campaign to find out more, and this is definitely one that has my attention. And the last game I have for you is also launching on the 8th, and it's called Tale Story and plays 2 to 4 players and takes about 20 to 45 minutes to play. And this is a game where players are going to be taking on the role of a pet who dream to spend their daily lives a little differently. And the 3 types of pets are canine, feline, and rodents. And each player is going to be managing their own deck of 15 cards, which they're going to be trying to get through as quickly as possible, because when their deck runs out, they get to pick 1 card to take out as an achievement, and the first player that reaches 4 achievements wins the game. Now this is the part of the video where I let you know what I backed last week, but before I get to that, I just wanted to let you know that if you love board games, it's probably a good idea that you go buy yourself one. If there's a game that you're planning to buy, check out KickstarterGames.com, because a small portion of any sales there will come back and help this channel. You might have noticed that window behind me going darker and darker as the video went on. That's because these videos take me a really long time to record, not to mention the research I have to do, and I still have to do a whole bunch of editing as well. So I don't really like asking for stuff, and none of you owe me anything, and I'm happy that you're here just watching the video. But if you do want to give back in any way, it really does mean a lot, and it's really nice if you can also get something for yourself in the process. You can also sign up to the newsletter on KickstarterGames.com, and that'll automatically enter you into a monthly contest where you can go ahead and win some board games for yourself, all for free. Either way, thanks for watching, and let's check out the Kickstarters I backed last week. Psych! So, sorry about that. I actually decided to split this video into 2 separate videos and see how that works for viewers. So if you want to check out what I backed last week, just click on the link up here in the corner and I'll tell you all about it there. Till next time, keep that shelf cluttered and the table full.